Good evening and welcome to the Bay St. Louis Planning and Zoning meeting of July 25th, 2023. We ask that you please silence all cell phones and electronics at this time. I'm going to ask if anyone's speaking, even people up here, because I'm sure there's a ton more people tuning in right now and I get tons of complaints of not being able to hear. If you can just speak directly into the mic as slowly and clearly as possible and kind of like not walk away while we're talking. So we're going to begin with a short prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Father in heaven, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Give us unity of spirit even when our opinions differ. Help us to listen politely to other points of view and to remember that we are all a part of the same community. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path in the best interest of our city. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And just in case anybody missed it, the SWK application has been withdrawn. That's the plat that was running between 3rd Street and South Beach Boulevard. Okay. All right, our first application tonight is Adam, application for special subdivision plat approval and variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by August Adam. The applicant is requesting to reconfigure 2 lots. Parcel A will need a variance of 1,651 square feet, resulting in 8,849 square feet to the lot area, and a variance of 11 foot 10 inches, resulting in an 8 foot 2 inch setback for the dwelling structure. Parcel B will meet lot size requirements, but will need a variance of 3 feet, resulting in a 2 foot setback for the accessory structure. The properties are located at 308 and 310 St. John Street. Parcel 149L-0-29-083.000, 87 2nd Ward, Bay St. Louis. Parcel 149L-0-29-084.000, lot 86, 2nd Ward, Bay St. Louis. The property is zoned R2, 2-family district. Yes, sir. Can you state your name and address and tell us a little bit more about why you're asking for the variance?
My name is August Adam. I'm the property owner of 308 and 310 St. John Street. I have 3 letters from my neighbors that weren't able to make it. Can I just bring those, give them to you?
Sure. And I'll see it. I'll go ahead and read those.
I also have a couple copies of the survey. Do you need that? I've got a couple extra copies.
We had copies up here of everything. If you want, if you can just tell us about why you're asking for the variance first, and then I'll go ahead and read these letters for you into the record.
My father, Randy Adam, God rest his soul, owned both parcels back in the 80s. He built a building on both parcels. I'm asking to move the property line 5 feet from the 2 feet from the north side of the building and 5 feet from the west side of the building, and then put a 6 foot privacy fence along the property line to separate the 2 properties. He never separated the properties, and I apologize for that. Any questions y'all have, I'll be more than happy to try to answer anything.
And just so we're clear for everybody in the audience, we're not creating any new lots. These 2 lots already exist. So it's already it's wonky as it is. I'm kind of making it make it a little bit more sense in my opinion. So I just want to be clear on that. It's already non-conforming as it stands. Got a few letters I'm going to read. First one, Buddy Riles. Dear sir, please accept this communication as a letter of support for my neighbor and friend Gus Adams' request to have the survey of his property at 310 St. John Street, Bay St. Louis, Mississippi corrected. It is my understanding that the correction is necessary for him to have a clear and concise title for his property. I support his efforts to obtain an accurate description of his property. I live across the street at 310 St. John Street. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Marshall Riles. Good afternoon, Mr. Burke. We own a home next door to Gus Adam on St. John Street. We are aware that Gus has requested to rezone 308 and 310 and that he plans to put up a fence between the 2 properties. We have absolutely no issue with either. Thank you for your consideration. Andre Weber and Reuben Keating, 306 St. John Street. Gus Adam is my neighbor and I approve his request to move his property line I own 307 St. John Street and half of 304 and a half St. John with my daughter. Gus is an excellent neighbor and friend. Sincerely, Nancy McCordle. And then I have one from Nancy Surak. No objection to the request. 316 and 322 St. John Street. Hold on. To Planning and Zoning Board, I am a property owner at 314 and a half St. John, and I am a neighbor of Gus Adam. I have no grievances to his moving of the property lines at 310 St. John. Janice McCardle, 314 and a half St. John. Did I have a sign-up list for anybody? All right. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this application? Any comments or questions from the commissioners?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Agee. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Osborne. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Please be present in this room. Next city council meeting is Tuesday, August 8th, 5:30 p.m.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. Next application is Yearwood. Application for special exception to the zoning ordinance submitted by Claire Yearwood and Dan Munn. The applicants are requesting a special exception to convert an existing detached accessory structure into an accessory dwelling in the rear yard. The property is located at 342 Main Street, parcel 149E-0-29-323.000, part 40, Second Ward, Bay St. Louis. The property is zoned R2 two-family district. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dan Munn at 342 Main Street, and the idea here is to move into the back house while we do renovations on the front house. And so my understanding is that we need this in order for us to live in that back house.
And just to go add to it, how this came about was, I believe y'all's architect came in here to submit plans, and it was pointed out that there's a structure back there. The history of the structure that I guess we ended up finding, the lot's 20,000 square feet, so it meets the 15,000 threshold for an accessory dwelling. But this was not necessarily a shed. It was actually an office at one time. So there's a restroom in there, like not a shower, but plumbing facilities already in there. There's actually rooms already in there. So to say that someone will be living in there now, conceivably, they could have almost already lived in there. So if y'all have driven by the piece of property, the footprint of that building is not changing at all. They're just using that red back building as what needs to be. So I think I included in the letter that of what needs to be met for the 7 things for a special exception. They meet every special exception. Traditionally, I think whenever they have special exceptions for accessory dwellings, many times there's a variance that goes with it. There's no variance that goes with it. And one of the other things is it's a 100-foot lot, over a 100-foot lot, so the access of actual parking cars, if it ends up being guest cottages or something, they actually do have adequate enough parking there, so it's not going to be a hindrance to the neighborhood. And nobody signed up for.
No. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against? Any? The question was asked for those who maybe couldn't hear if it was a temporary exception or a permanent exception, and the answer, it would be a permanent exception, that this dwelling would be allowed on the property. Any comments or questions from the commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
A motion. Second.
Motion by Mr. LeBlanc, second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Please be present for the next city council meeting Tuesday, August 8th, 5:30 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next application is Zhang. We're not moving Zhang to the end, right? Okay. Is Zhang application for sketch plat and variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Allison Anderson on behalf of Frank Zhang. The applicant is requesting to subdivide the parcel into 11 newly created lots. All 11 lots will need variances to lot width and lot area. The property is located at the corner of Valentine Street and Central Avenue, parcel 149N-0-030-090.000 1 through 11, Mrs. Bayard subdivision. The property is zoned R2 two-family district. Yes, ma'am.
Allison Anderson, 443 Main Street, Unabridged Architecture. So I take a little bit of exception to the description you have in front of you. These are not newly created lots. These are previously platted and approved lots from Mrs. John Fayard subdivision, which was dated May 10th, 1946. So these lots have been around ever since then. In addition to that, 50% of the lots on this block are already 50 feet. If you expand it to 55-foot lots, then 60% of the lots on this block are already 55 feet or less. We are not requesting a zoning change. We're still going to abide by all of the restrictions for R2, except for the lot size for these previously plotted and approved lots.
So it all exists as one parcel right now?
It all exists as one
Okay.
parcel because it used to be the housing authority.
Right.
I know that there have been other sort of proposals floated in the past, but now we are talking about duplex housing, either one above the other or one in front of the other, with meeting all the setback requirements and all the parking.
Before, I've got some letters and then a list from the audience, of course, but is there any questions from the commissioners that Ms. Anderson can answer right now? I just had one thing I noticed on GIS the other day. So the housing authority also owned the lots behind, like kind of sandwiched between this. So would those lots be landlocked now, since we're only talking about this top parcel here?
They will remain green space for the immediate future. Yeah.
So how do they plan to access that? Like, will they have to grant easements? Like, what's the thought process? But
I think Frank is thinking that in the future, he might purchase additional lots and gain access to them that way. He may leave one of the duplexes out and access it there. I think it just depends, but
so it,
he
it
really-
may like be possibly an expansion, I guess. He does own that too.
He does.
Everything that.
yeah, he does
housing.
own that. Right now, it will remain green space.
Okay.
There's no provision and no plan in place to move forward with developing that green space at the moment. There's an incredible grove of live oaks back there. If you haven't walked back there, I highly recommend you take a look at it because those will be preserved and, in perpetuity.
Thank you. Any other questions? And I'll read some letters.
How long ago were there housing there?
It was before Katrina, and I can't answer when it was closed. I believe it was shuttered before Katrina and then demolished after Katrina. And there were 40 units. We're proposing 20
Thank
or 11 duplexes.
That's a good question. Okay. I'm going to read the letters I have up here, and then I'm going to get to our sign-up list. The first one to Bay St. Louis Planning and Zoning. My name is William Adam, resident of Bay St. Louis. I have great concern regarding the application submitted by Mr. Zhang, which if passed will create reckless disregard for the city rules governing lot size and square footage for this R2 parcel. Applicant is asking for 20% reduction in lot size and a 25-foot variance for lot width. To even consider this is absurd in my opinion. I have subdivided several large parcels over the years and have not asked for any variances. A large parcel as this has adequate footage to meet city requirements, and variances to lot size are not necessary. As a business owner and property owner with close ties to this neighborhood, I respectfully ask the board to deny this application. William Adam, 309 3rd Street, Bay St. Louis. And a phone call from Mr. Alan Sledge, 323 Ballantyne. He is opposed due to density in small lots. And I'm just going to go in order, and then if anyone else would like to speak. Oh gosh, help me. Miss Margaret, 316 Ramonita Street. Okay, no, that makes that easy. Tony Higgins, 401 Valentine Street. Tommy Higgins, yes sir. You want to come up to the podium and speak for me? Or no, we gotta.
As a resident of Bay St. Louis, born and raised right there on Valentine Street. I grew up with the low-income housing that was there. It used to be a government facility. It wasn't very maintained, broke down cars laying around, stuff like that. So I, as a homeowner, don't want to see that again. really don't want to see any duplex or apartments there. I just think it's going to bring down the value of the residents. You know, it's all houses in this area. It's no duplexes anywhere, with the exception of one on Valentine Street that Joyce Lee owns. That, I don't know how she got it pushed through, but it did. But anyhow, I just think it would be, you know, a disgrace to the properties on Valentine and Citizen and St. Charles Street. So I'm totally against it. So that's all I got to say. So.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. John Collins, 419 Demolison. Yes, sir.
I have been at 419 Demolison for going on 12 years, and during that time span, I've seen our community go from Mayberry to Margaritaville. I think we can all understand that. And when I go to these commission hearings, sometimes I see the outcome is tilted towards the developers, the subdividers, and when I walk away, walk outside, I say, has it been a done deal already? And, you know, I just can't help from thinking that at times. About a month or so back, I went to the Bay St. Louis 2045 presentation, and there was a lot of talk about what could be developed here, there, and elsewhere. But there was nothing mentioned about the impact upon the infrastructure with this large influx of people that the development would bring in, and what impact it would have on the roads, the drainage, the water. Nothing was mentioned there. It's all about build, build, build. So I think, you know, we need to pay attention as to what that impact will mean, and, you know, because developers will be laughing all the way to the bank, and we, the common citizens here who live here, will be left holding the bag. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Kevin Cardamone, or Cardamone, sorry, you're gonna have to excuse me if I butcher names. 313 Ballantyne.
Yes. Yeah, I've been at 313 for the past 7 years. And when I moved in there, I bought an old house that had been destroyed in Katrina. And I was one of the first people, I think, really to do something on Ballantyne. Since then, we've had other people move in, build, and it's becoming a nice street. Well, I think with what he is developing at the end of that street, it's going to present problems for Central, problems for Ballantyne. You can hardly get 2 cars down Ballantyne now with all the growth going on. And, you know, I'd like to see some kind of a plan rather than just this, showing what these places are going to look like, what they're going to sell for, what the parking is going to look like. We don't know anything other than looking at a parcel. That's it.
Mr. Michael Applebaum, 302 Ballantyne.
Michael Applebaum, 302 Ballantyne. I agree with Kevin and pretty much the sentiment of everyone in here that we bought a house on 404 3rd, which is adjacent to our property on Ballantyne, about 7.5 years ago, and built the house on Ballantyne, completed it last year. And I just feel that this is completely disrespectful of the neighborhood and the town and the zoning ordinances. I mean, we all know that Bay St. Louis isn't what it was 80 years ago. It's changed a lot. There's been a lot invested in it. We put a lot of, my wife and I, you know, have done a lot for the neighborhood and invested a lot of our time and money and energy here. And I just think there's a way to do it right, and within the rules and the guidelines and the ordinances are there for a reason. And I believe this is very egregious and incredibly greedy, and not to mention, like Kevin said, I mean, if you think, you know, I don't know how many bedrooms each duplex is going to have, but I would imagine at least 2, maybe 3, maybe more, I don't know. But if you imagine only 2 or possibly 3 cars per residence, you're talking about 44 to 66 cars, you know, on that corner. I don't see anything, you know, there's been nothing discussed about parking and just the general density that it's going to bring to the neighborhood, which I think is going to be a detriment. And I think if this passes, that we're just setting a very dangerous precedent for overdevelopment and over-densification of the entire area. So I'm way against it, and hope y'all vote it down.
Thank you, Mr. Applebaum. Ms. Penny Kelly, 321 Valentine.
Yes, I live directly across the street at 321 Ballantyne, and I asked this zoning and planning commission to consider that this is overbuilding. The lot sizes are too small, and I am against a variance. I have lived there for 30 years. I was there when public housing was still there before Katrina, and it was overcrowded then. I don't think it should have ever been built, but it was wonderful when they tore it down. And now you're looking to build 22 units on my street. And think of the traffic across the street 24/7 from me, not to mention the building trucks. At the corner of Central and Ballantyne is a big sign that says no trucks allowed. Just think of building that many units off of Ballantyne Street. When the public housing was trying to be rebuilt, I asked them for one thing: make a street in from Central and have all the traffic come in from Central and put a cul-de-sac within that subdivision, and then build around it. I'm not against duplexes. I'm not against anybody developing it. I am against this 50-foot lot with duplexes on it in a single-family neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Mr. Michael Reeves, 139 or 134 Felicity.
Michael Reeves, 134 Felicity Street. I'm an architect in town and a concerned citizen. This piece of property is sort of unusual in that it's so big for subdividing it into R2 properties. The current piece of property could be divided into 7 legally or close to legal size R2 lots by making the lots down Ballantyne Street 75 feet wide instead of 50 feet wide. You get 5 instead of 8, and you would put 2 on Central. Lot number 1, to me, has a concrete drainage ditch running down the middle of it, which to me makes that lot unbuildable unless the owner is going to redesign the drainage for the city of Bay St. Louis, which I don't believe any owner will want to undertake that obligation, and I'm not certain the city would want to undertake that obligation. There's another lot, lot 8, has got a nice live oak tree sort of almost in the middle of it. It's defined on the map as live oak. That's all the reason I'm saying that when I look at it, it says live oak, that, you know, if you're driving cars over it, so forth, that's a problem. But if it's not a live oak, that question is moot. But I believe that, you know, cutting R2 to a 50-foot width instead of 75 is just setting a precedence, which, you know, I really don't believe the city ought to be doing when the property could be divided into 7 lots that more closely meet R2 requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernie Ostenvold, 218 St. Charles.
Hey, Lars, how you doing?
First off, if I've done my research right, we have an ordinance, 1305.3, item E, which requires 75 feet. That was passed a couple years ago by whoever passed it. because they denied Shieldsboro, if I've got it right, denied Shieldsboro that. But basically, if it violates it, we can't do it. Now, my other concern, one of the reasons I'm wearing this shirt, says little brown dog. That's saying it's boy. The way they speed up and down St. Charles, I've had one killed, and the people kept going. This last week, there were 4 kids on their little scooter thingies, whatever they call them, playing out in the middle of the street. Everybody, we need more police presence. I know that isn't your thing, but the roads are too narrow. I go up and down 3rd. On the way here, there were 2 cars that ran stop signs, not rolling stops, ran them. That was up Main Street. To make these lots, what I say, conform, I don't really have a feeling on that. I just don't see where we can have the 50-foot lots in there. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff here about environmental, our sewage, the infrastructure. We've got problems with it now, and that needs to be addressed at some meeting, because I know what happens when Bay St. Louis has a problem. I know where the sewage goes, out to the beach. So, anyway, thank you. Jimmy, good to see you. You too. Never mind.
Not any of us.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm not saying this again. I'm just, if y'all sign up to speak and maybe your comments already came up, you can feel free to pass or say ditto, just in the interest of time. Alan and Margaret Sarro, 215 St. Charles Street.
My wife Margaret and I, we live, our property abuts the rear of that property, so we are directly affected. Just to let you know, I've been around the neighborhood, and they do have a few duplexes. To the best of my knowledge, in the area, none of the duplexes are on lots that are any less than 85 feet, and they don't look spacious. So a 50-foot lot for a duplex, I think it's way too small. Also, we've had 2 of the city councilmen out to that area because we have drainage issues. Whenever we have a moderate rain, the water backs up, and we've had both Kyle and Gary Knobloch out there looking at the issues. It comes directly from that property over through to St. Charles Street and kind of keeps our property very wet. So drainage is an issue. Obviously, the more concrete you pour, the more roofs you put in there, the worse the problem is going to be, and I don't think there's any solution in for drainage. So as was brought up before by Mr. Reeves and Mr. Applebaum, there are currently very reasonable zoning restrictions in place for duplexes. I think all of the neighbors would certainly prefer to have single-family houses there, but it is zoned duplex. If they do it, I hope the board will pick a more reasonable sized lot and stick to the current regulations. I don't think we need variances for that. Thank you.
I don't have a very good guess, but I think it looks like Suzette, and it starts with an S, the last name. There's no address with it. Next one may be Kelly. Last name starts with a B. Oh, okay. I have a Babin. Okay, sorry. Mary Beth Alexander, 402 Ballantyne.
Hi. I also thought it was a sign-in sheet, but I will speak.
Okay, that works for me.
I purchased 402 in 2021, and I moved there, and I'm right across the street from this, and I love the neighborhood. I love my neighbors. I love how quiet and peaceful it is, and I don't think I would have bought it across the street. I'm concerned about the property value. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Miss Alexander. Holly Garvin, 319 Ballantyne Street.
Hi, Holly Garvin, 319 Ballantyne. I'm with the rest of the neighbors on Ballantyne, and I highly oppose the development. I've only been there 2 years. I live directly across the street, and had that been there, I definitely would have bought where I did, and so I'm just highly.
Thank you. Barbara Ketton, 325 Ballantyne Street. Sure.
Hello, my name is Kayla Kelton. I have resided at 325 Ballantyne for the majority of my life. I'm 27 years old. I've only been out of the house for about 2 years. So this house, this neighborhood is very important to me. And I actually am very familiar with a lot of the people in this room opposed to this development. I stand with them, and I stand with my grandmother, and if my grandfather was alive, he would be here too. My mom is in Oklahoma. She also would oppose this if she was here as well. I lived there before Katrina, and I do not remember this memory, but my grandmother does, and it was traumatic for her, for my grandfather to be beat up by the people across the street. I remember not being able to have restful evenings because of the music, the violence, the constant going on, the traffics from everyone, and I was a young girl. We have to remember that this neighborhood is also predominantly older people, and developing in this neighborhood would be detrimental to their health and well-being. There's, like they said, drainage, noise, there's noise pollution, air pollution, and all this affects an elderly's immune system more. I do understand the developer's point. These parcels were allotted. I remember them, and like somebody said, they were a nightmare. And just because they were allotted then, does that mean we go back in time and we do what we did then instead of looking forward and trying to do something better? We've made new rules for a reason. We've made land allotments for a reason. The land has been empty since after Katrina, and the neighborhood has been so much more peaceful because of it. My grandmother is now in fear of her safety. She's taken up thinking about getting self-defense classes. She signed up for gun classes, and she's never touched a gun in her life because she is by herself without a husband, without me there. And so it's like, how does she protect herself besides taking these measures? I understand that the duplexes, and we desperately need like income driven like housing here. Our servers, our wait staff, our retail workers do not have affordable places to live, and that is a problem to fix. But in this neighborhood, I don't know if that's the answer. And I've been noticing from the back of the room, and I don't mean to call anybody out, but I can't help but notice that they keep these developers, these spokesman, I forgot your name, I'm so sorry, has been smirking and nodding people off instead of listening to their sentiments and their worries. If there is such a large amount of people that are against this development, instead of shunning their opinions and not listening to them, I would hope that you would take input and not laugh at their opinions and their worries and their concerns. I also have noticed, I think I could keep going, but also the immediate future green parcels is not enough of a promise. How much is an immediate future? 6 months after they're fully developed and families are moved in? It's just, like I said, I'd rather be moving forward, and I am 27 years old, and I sound like an old geezer when I say that this town is no longer what it used to be. And I've looked at other communities that have developed so fast, and I'm so grateful for people being interested in this small town. But because you're interested in this small town, let's keep it that way. And I do want development. I do want people to be here, but there has to be some type of pause. There has to be some type of breath for the people that have been living here 30 plus years to be able to catch up with the developments that are happening. And I think this neighborhood just keeps needing a rest until maybe a couple more years, because these are older people. I don't mean to sound, it's just, they're important, and I think a lot of them are nervous to speak. Anyway, I'll stop talking. I just oppose, and I know like 4 other people do that aren't here, but they do. My grandmother does. Anyway, I will stop talking. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Okay. She was very, very well spoken and to the point. I agree, but we're not going to do the clapping because we'll be here all night. I think it's Farron, Washington, 205 Ballantyne Street.
I live at 205 Ballantyne Street, been there all my life, been born and raised on Ballantyne Street in the 200 block. I remember the projects. I had family members living in the projects back in the day. All those projects, it was a lot of confusion going on back up in there. But if you had that many projects back there and you didn't need a variance back then, I don't think you need a variance now. But what, I'm not against the building, but I'm against how many going in there. The traffic, the drainage, just everything. I'm just against it all, to be honest with you. The variance, I don't think that's the spot to put that many houses. Thank you.
Ms. Washington. Marvin Story, 211 St. Charles. Oh, I thought I said your name wrong. I was going to be
No,
there.
you said the name right, but he signed the thing. I'm Julie Cullen. I also live at 211 St. Charles, next to Alan Margaret and across the street from Bernie. And I have to just echo everything that they've said. The speed, the traffic on St. Charles Street right now is already appalling. We live adjacent to what I think used to be the Housing Authority property. There's a wall that goes nowhere, really. And then Keith Christie, who's over here, my neighbor on the other side, he knows exactly what I'm talking about with the drainage problem. Because when we had a lot of water last year, I believe it was, I mean, we had floods in our backyard. Now, it hasn't been so bad this year because it's been drier. But Kyle has been working with us, and it's just been a nightmare. And that's just with the buildings that are already there. Now, one thing I find kind of interesting is I have not heard from anybody who lives in the neighborhood who's in favor of this. Nobody. I mean, I've been there since 2011. Other people have been there longer than me. But nobody is saying they think this is a good idea. The number of units they're talking about on Ballantyne, think of the number of cars that each one of these units is going to have. Have y'all driven down Ballantyne Street lately? I mean, it's a little bitty narrow street with no shoulder, and there's no room for even an extra half a car. So I think you need to take that into consideration. Not only the property owners, the people who have bought in this neighborhood, excuse me, have invested a lot of money. And the young lady who spoke, she said, you know, it is kind of an older people neighborhood, and I'll join that group for sure. But we joined it for a reason. It was a great neighborhood with great neighbors and a place where we wanted to live. And it's not against, I'm not against development. There's so much land in Hancock County and in the city of Bay St. Louis. Why do you have to take a fully established neighborhood that's established with wonderful neighbors and wonderful trees and wonderful houses and basically destroy that for somebody who's moving in as a developer? I don't have any problem with developers. My sister was a contractor. I don't have a problem with that. But I just don't think this is the correct plan. And I sincerely hope that y'all deny the variances for so many reasons. I don't even know where to start, but for so many reasons. Thank you.
Mr. Keith Christie, 209 St. Charles.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. First of all, it is the drainage problem. There's a drainage problem so bad, it's incredible. There's still a structure that sits from, I believe it's probably dated back to the 1950s. You can't find anything with it in the city because it has, all those files are gone. But because there's a 4-foot wall that goes around the perimeter of about, I don't know, it's probably about 120 feet by 75 feet by 120 square, and underneath there is concrete. It used to be the sewage treatment plant for that piece of property. That causes so much problem that I've been to the city council for the past 3 years. What I did was I went to the housing authority, who promised they were going to fix this. They never did. They sold the property, is what they did. And it was kind of like underneath everybody. it is amazing how this all happens. And it's amazing who bought the property, because there are people who, I mean, I believe this developer also bought property in Biloxi. It's funny how this all started, and it's funny how it's all starting to create. So I ask you to please review everything before you consider this variance. I really do, because right now, my backyard, I can show you pictures of my yard, my neighbor's yard. I had over 6 inches of water for almost 5 months. I had to walk back there. I couldn't cut my grass from March till August. It's amazing. And there, I mean, I'm waiting for whoever owns that property, because if they don't fix that, because the HUD was supposed to fix it, she just walked away from it. It really smells. Not only what was there, but what is happening here. I'll leave it at that.
Karen Finneran, 410 3rd Street.
Hi, I'm Karen Finneran. I'm at 410 3rd and 317 Ballantyne. I've been here for almost 20 years. I'll support everything that all the neighbors said tonight in opposition. Particularly the traffic and speeding problem with the density is already really bad and really dangerous right now as it stands. And the drainage problem that Keith was talking about is really, really bad. It's been really affecting me also. Other than that, it's too much density for the neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Greg Martell, 424 Ballantyne.
Yeah, I'm not really opposed to subdividing. I knew that was going to happen someday. I always knew that it was R2 and that duplexes would be allowed. What I am opposed to is the variances that are required. I think this could be done. Sure, it'd be a couple less houses, but I think it should be done within the guidelines. The other thing I wanted to point out is that lot 1 and 2, even though their lot width is 60 feet, that's just because of that angle. Those are actually 50-foot lots, 1 and 2. That's the width of those lots. And one other thing is, Allison mentioned that quite a few of the houses on that street are on 50-foot lots. But those are all single-family homes. They're not duplexes. Just wanted to point that out. That's all.
Thank you. Last one on my list is Bobby Applebaum, 300 Ballantyne. Yes, sir.
I'll bring up the end. Dr. Applebaum, my son who spoke earlier, and I have houses next to one another, 300 and next to him on Ballantyne, and his sister-in-law's built another house on Ballantyne. And I just think this would be a stress on the infrastructure of the city. I don't think we need any variances, and I'll stand by with all the other people that spoke here. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Cliff Rabelais, 702 3rd Street. Good evening, gentlemen, councilman. Councilman already know this, but there was a change in the subdivision rules recently. I'm gonna be at the next council meeting, asking them to rescind those and re-look at what they are doing, because right now, this is all they have to do, is give a sketch. The old rules don't exist as of right now. Awful darn coincidental that we get 3 subdivisions pop up a week after the subdivision rules get changed with no public notice. I'm gonna ask this board to table this. Because city council, and I've talked to a lot of them already, know that there's gonna be some pushback as to being able to submit a sketch and then get the rest of it administratively approved with no public input. And Doug, if I'm stating wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But that is my understanding, that right now, the rules are, this sketch, we say okay, and that's it. You guys know me long enough to know that I'm not big on subdividing lots. I do think this needs to be put on hold until the subdivision rules have been properly and publicly discussed and reapproved, because right now they're in flux. And these gentlemen are right. There's no reason in the world to give a variance when you got that much room and you can meet the 75-foot requirement for R2. I was gonna make these same statements for the next two subdivisions. One of them got withdrawn, and obviously the one on Third Street affects me quite, but, I think these subdivision rules need to be firmed up and re-looked at and get public input, and before we start approving new subdivisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rabelais. I'll do a couple more. Yes, sir, the gentleman in the back. And I'll get to you, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for hearing me. My name is Michael Rakotsky, and my wife and I live at the corner of Beach and Ballantyne. And for all the people that have spoken, I agree with them. I do not approve of the variance for the subdivision. The one thing is, the difference between Ginny and I and the rest of them is everybody comes down Ballantyne, and they're at our corner of Beach and Ballantyne. We get to experience, we get to see a lot of our neighbors and say hi. We also get to experience Beach Boulevard, a car stopping there, trying to turn onto Ballantyne to head west. That just doesn't happen. Or you meet at the Hasses in our place, and the people pull into our driveway, or they run along our flower bed, or they pull in the Hass. So the road just cannot support the level of construction equipment, let alone trying to make turns from Ballantyne heading east, turning south onto Beach Boulevard, and taking out our stone wall. Multiple times we just stopped it. The other thing is the amount of traffic that the construction traffic for this subdivision, for this application, as well as the two on 3rd Street. Where are the trucks and cars gonna go? They're gonna start going Ballantyne, St. Charles, Hancock. They're just gonna keep spreading out. So I thank you for hearing me out, and I do not want to give any bit.
Thank you, Mr. Rakowski. Yes, ma'am.
Connie Voigt, we live at the corner of Cary and Central, and I just want to say that an influx of 50 to 60 to 70 more cars on Central Avenue is the worst idea on the planet. The street already has enormous potholes. There's not even a line down it. And I can tell you, I can almost count how many people drag race all the way from Washington, all the way down to Nicholson, because there are no traffic controls set up between Washington and Nicholson. And the thought of introducing that many more cars on it makes me want to cringe and move. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Zhang, and I live at 102 McCall, which is the only house on McCall, but it intersects with St. Charles. And I don't want to reiterate a lot of the points, although I support every single one of them. I would like to point out a public safety issue. I mean, gentleman that spoke before, the lady pointed out just the congestion of cars. You try and get a garbage truck down Ballantyne, you try to get a fire truck down Ballantyne, or you try to get a police car down Ballantyne. It's impassable, as they say, already with cars. So, and then during construction, I know Cary Street had construction, and it was almost impassable. You know, so, you know, if you have to get an ambulance in there, I see a real policy.
Yes, ma'am. I saw a couple more. I'll do a couple more. I didn't want anyone not to. Yeah. Is this?
Exact date on it, but it shows that there were 9 duplexes in the office. I think that's probably 60s. Just to show you.
It looks like it because it's hand drawn.
Authoritative map of what was there.
Thank you. I'll submit this into the record too, so that Caitlin has a copy at the end. Very good. Yeah. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening. My name is Miguel Eduardo Davlos II. I live at 314 and a half Allman Avenue, and I just wanted to say that I am opposed.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak that didn't know to sign up? Any comments or questions from the commissioners before I let Ms. Anderson kind of address some of these questions that were brought up? Ms. Anderson, would you like to speak again?
I appreciate the opportunity to hear from my neighbors, and I didn't smirk at all. I might have been smiling at people I know, so I take exception to that remark. I would like to clarify a couple things. One is the value of these properties is not low income. It's not low income housing that's being proposed. This is your children. This is your grandchildren. These are the people, not just servers, but teachers and firefighters and police officers and good, young professional starter families. That's the value of each sort of unit. About $750,000 per lot. The infrastructure exists. We're hearing about a lot of the problems. Some of those will be addressed through the construction of this site. I don't think there's much we can do about the right-of-way or the street width overall or about the corner at Beach Boulevard. But the things that are on our property that can be addressed for drainage, we just heard about a well or something that's on the site. Those are things that would be addressed if this project were to go forward. And I want to just clarify that we're not asking for re-subdivision. This project was well underway for the past 3 months before the subdivision regulations changed. So we're asking for restoration of the originally platted lot line.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
Yes, I do. Are there serious considerations to drop to 7 lots rather than 11? Because 20% variance up to 33% is quite high.
Anything you recommend to us, we will take back to our client.
Right.
I was going to bring that up too.
Just
because
just putting the math together. I mean, let's say you make $250,000 per unit. You're talking about a $1.7 million profit versus a $2.75 million profit. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anything you recommend, we will take back to them.
Whenever we have situation or like applications like this, I like to, if the purpose is to move something forward, some kind of guidance. And I think what I heard from the majority of the people tonight was that 75 foot, they wouldn't be opposed to. They knew a subdivision was coming. So that may be something you can take forward in the future, just some of those comments. We're not going to keep beating a dead horse or anything right now, but I just, honestly, Ms. Kelton summed up probably every point that was in my mind about the subdivision. So I'm not going to just keep repeating what's been said tonight. Yeah, ask it real quick if it's something.
Kevin, I'll be happy to show you our little plot plan, which we made available. But
there is a plot plan, but I don't know that it had that one may not have the,
More central, yeah. There's no central line going in the
we've been through a number of different options for this project, including some cul-de-sacs, and we thought that this would be the most palatable, but as we heard tonight, I don't think
it's
it
aggressive.
is.
I like the idea of the service street off of Central Avenue. I don't remember who said that.
I mean,
but I thought that was a good idea.
Jeremy's
Obviously,
seen
there's
25 different iterations.
Yeah, there's other points that mainly are city issues with the infrastructure, and I'll take notes and go drive Valentine again tomorrow and really look. I mean, if there's a possibility of extending the road width, I don't know that we have 10 feet that are on either side, And then, of course, the drainage needs to be addressed, but we'll get to that. And then whatever subdivision gets made, it will come back. The city engineer will have to sign off on a drainage plan, so that will have to be addressed for this lot, but it looks like we're looking at a bigger issue here, and just in the whole area as a whole. Yes, sir. Does your councilman know about this? Is Kyle Lewis? Okay, I'm just taking some notes if we can address some of these outside problems. Let's kill two birds with one stone. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting off topic. Yeah, we're getting off topic, but it is, since it's been brought up, we'll tell you who you need to contact to address that.
I think it is important to make the point that where infrastructure exists is a good place to add density. It might not be the density that you like, but it is a good place for new housing to happen because that infrastructure already exists. We're not creating new infrastructure and extending it into places where it currently doesn't exist. So.
Okay, I'll do a couple more points, you guys, and then we're going to move on. Yes, sir. Mr. Christie.
As far as that piece of property is concerned, that's bounded by that concrete wall that's from the bottom up 4 feet, if you need to take those trees that you sowed unique, you're going to destroy everything.
The trees.
That was the whole problem with the HUD, where she couldn't take care of that problem.
Because of access through the grove of trees?
No, because of the fact that once you tear that wall down, you're just going to expose all that.
Okay.
And so that is an issue. And by the way, no disrespect to you, whether or not it's built or not, you will still have to deal with that drainage problem.
Oh, I understand.
I left HUD, and now I'm going to you.
I understand.
The owners.
The owners. Let's be clear about that. I'm just the
Her
agent
hands
here.
are clean.
We did meet at the site with Anita, the tree lady. Sorry. That was John that did that. And we looked specifically at that area because it is an area of concern, and we knew that that had been a problem before. And so what she said was that any specimen trees in that area were so small as they didn't really meet the criteria of being specimen trees and being, necessary to preserve. All of the big live oaks will remain. She did review the tree on lot 8 that Michael Reeves talked about and confirmed for us that it is not a live oak, it is a water oak. So we have met with her out there and we have taken that into consideration. So we can remove that foundation or whatever it is and the tree.
Okay, we're not going to go down a rabbit hole here. If there's questions that Ms. Anderson can personally address. I'll get you.
No, he does long-term management. That is his. He will be the landlord. Yeah.
So for those listening in, the question was asked if they would be selling off individual parcels or retaining them for rentals, and the answer is that he will be the landlord for the property of all the duplexes going on. Correct. Yes, ma'am. Real quick. That's a city city issue to address. Her property doesn't abut the beach. Yeah. All right. I think we've addressed pretty much every issue that we could have touched on, hopefully made some progress. If there's nothing else from the commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
Second.
A motion to deny by Mr. Osborne, second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
No.
No? Okay. We don't do that here.
Thank you.
But please be present at the next city council meeting Tuesday, August 8th at 5:30 PM. Yes, if anybody wants to leave now while the getting's good before our last application, I'll give y'all a minute to clear out, but let's talk in the parking lot.
Talk in the parking lot.
Hey, Mr. Reeves, how are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, we can take care of that.
Enemy. Hey, Laura. It's been too long. That's been a long time. How you
It's
been?
gonna be a major
Good to see
site
you.
review
You all right?
anyway, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, good. Good.
By right, well, not by right, but yeah.
You spoke, so you did your civic duty. It's greedy, and 11 is just too much. The money grab for the guy. And look, I get it. Investors want to make money, but
That's
too
a
big
good
variance.
Jeremy question, but it's probably something we'll just cross the bridge when we
Good to
come.
see you. I guess these would be condos, huh? If he's going to manage them, and they're 750,000 bucks, they'll be condos. Yeah. You're not going to rent them. You'll be selling them as condos.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. We're just brainstorming solutions. I don't know what they are because I can't.
Take care.
Okay, we're still in an active meeting. If we can please clear the room, unless you're here for the last application, which is hey,
There must be a bar.
please clear the room if you're not here for the Dantagnan. I can't say it. The last application. Dantagnan? Dantagnan? Dantagnan.
Yep.
I'm butchering the name. Okay.
Item F.
Item F. There. Agenda item D.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, D. I forgot about D.
All right. Okay, next applicant is, can you say your name for me?
Dantagnan?
Dantagnan.
That's not my name, but that's the LLC. My name's Lee Hayden.
Okay. Sketch plat submitted by Dantagnan Holdings LLC for a 6-parcel subdivision on a 3.8 acre tract of land located along 3rd Street between Cary Court and Ramonita Street. The property is tax parcel 137R-0-440-070.000, 4th Ward, Part 205 and 210, East 609 feet, Bay St. Louis. The property is zoned R3 multifamily district. Yes, sir. State your name and address for us.
Lee Hayden, 710 South Beach, Bay St. Louis. We'd like to divide the property into 6 lots. We've looked at other options, and this seems to hopefully agree with most of the neighbors, and, single-family housing, we hope.
And it meets all the requirements of
Yeah, we're just asking to subdivide.
the lot requirements, yes, but it couldn't be done administratively because it was more than, I think it's more than more than an acre. Gotcha. Any comments or questions from the commissioners? I had 1 letter. 2 letters. Dear Commission, I am the Senior Warden of the Christ Episcopal Church Vestry at 912 South Beach Boulevard. I am writing on behalf of the church. Bay St. Louis is in the midst of a comprehensive planning and zoning review, BSL 2045. The city has spent a lot of time and money to engage our consultants for the review. Why is there not a building moratorium in place until that review is complete and a final plan is adopted? The Dantagnan proposal, as shown on the sketch plat, should be rejected out of hand as it does not comply with the BSL subdivision regulations, Article 3, Section 301.3, which requires the following. The sketch plat shall indicate location of the subdivision, street alignment, lot sizes, desired improvements, location of existing and proposed utilities, protected trees and drip line, access roads, surface type, surface width, row width, identification and delineation of floodplains based upon the current FEMA firm map and drainage facilities, executed and recorded warranty deed, regulatory wetlands, and shall provide additional information that is deemed reasonably necessary within the scope of this ordinance by the city. All adjoining landowners, easements, and right-of-ways will be included on the sketch plat. This plat does not include desired improvements, location of existing and proposed utilities, nor does it show protected trees with their drip lines. The plat does not show the current FEMA firm rating and drainage. As presented, the sketch plat is incomplete and inadequate, and the application should be denied. This property is zoned R3 multifamily and I2 industrial. As proposed, the developer would be building 4 plexes on 6 lots and for a total of 24 units. This would lead to more drainage problems. The section of town already has drainage issues. By adding 24 more residential units, the problem only grows exponentially. Christchurch already has 2 sinkholes caused by collapse of city culverts on our property. These issues should be addressed before we increase drainage requirements by adding more demand. Construction vehicles will either use Romanita or Christchurch's private driveway to get to 3rd Street. We maintain our driveway for church functions and cannot handle the increased traffic that will come with construction of 24 units. Our driveway already has potholes because of the drainage problems. For the above enumerated reasons, the application should be denied. Respectfully, Anita M. Warner, Senior Warden, Christ Episcopal Church, 912 South Beach Boulevard. Dear Commission, Bay St. Louis is in the midst of a comprehensive planning and zoning review, BSL 2045. The city has spent a lot of time and money to engage our, this letter's different? Okay. To engage our consultants for the review. Why is there not a building moratorium in place until that review is complete and then a final plan is adopted? To date, according to the public meetings for BSL 2045, we were informed that 2,000 houses were built in the Bay between 2010 and 2020, but BSL population only increased by 200 from 9,200 to 9,400 in that same period. And we now have 472 VRBOs in the Bay, which are not permitted, inspected, or taxed. Our neighborhoods are being destroyed as the city allows developers to do as they please, building more and more houses that are simply more short-term rentals. Meanwhile, we, the residents, are left to deal with increased traffic, parking, garbage, and noise problems. The Dantagnan proposal, as shown on the sketch plat, should be rejected out of hand as it does not comply with the BSL subdivision regulations, Article 3, Section 301.3, which requires the following I previously read in the last letter. This plat does not include desired improvements, location of existing and proposed utilities, nor does it show protected trees and their drip lines. The plat does not show the current FEMA firm rating and drainage. As presented, the sketch plat is incomplete and inadequate, and application should be denied. This property is zoned R3 multifamily and I2 industrial. As proposed, the developer would be building 4 plexes on 6 lots for a total of 24 units. This would lead to increased traffic and parking on 3rd Street. What is of even more importance is a drainage problem. This section of town already has drainage issues. By adding 24 more residential units, the problem only grows exponentially, and very likely some of these proposed units become VRBOs with all of those issues. For the above enumerated reasons, the application should be denied. Respectfully, Anita M. Warner, 417 3rd Street. I got a bunch of people signed up to speak. Miss Margaret, 21 Chantilly. Can you come up and state your name and address for us for the record?
All right, I don't know about this thing, but anyway, my name is Maggie Delcuse, and Allison, it's good to see you. All right. I've lived at 21 Chantilly Terrace since 1976, so I belong in the octogenarian group. But anyway, I want to make a comment about the Valentine and Central Avenue 50-foot lots. I had some property out in Bayside that were 50-foot wide lots, and they were dinky. They were tiny, and so I had to buy 2 of them to make something worthwhile selling. Okay, I'm a displaced Yankee from Chicago and Boston, and I want to tell you that I dearly love Bay St. Louis, and I do not like to see what's happening to it. Okay, the whole quality of it is changing since we've been discovered, and people are moving in from all over and seeing the money that can be made in here. And so I would like to see our council think twice about some of that. I think there should have been a downtown association that protected some of our family-owned businesses down there. But at any rate, my concern about Romanita Street and Cary Court, I live on Chantilly. It was platted years ago for Malou Village, but it's also been designated as wetlands. And I believe that this property on Cary Court and Romanita would also be designated as wetlands. And so my concern is also, if people are buying this, are they putting the money aside in the wetlands bank that is supposed to be put there when they buy property that is wetlands and designated wetlands. And I know that the property behind my house is designated wetlands, and I know that the property behind the houses on the other side of the street is designated wetlands. So I'm sure that this area would be wetlands also, and we need to seriously consider preserving some of the stuff.
Thank you. Mr. Lee, it's Mr. Lee, correct? I did want to ask, it's, just to confirm, it's all in the same flood zone, it's all in AE 18? Do you know? Only the front half. Okay. So have you looked into any wetlands delineate? Okay. We can get you contact info if you need to verify that. But Brian Schneider, I think it's 108 3rd Street.
Brian Schneider, 108 3rd Street. Thank you all for your service to our community. I have a very minor issue, and I think it may come under planning, but probably not zoning, and that is it's 0.8 miles between stop signs. That would be Bay Oaks to St. Charles. So it's a nice drag strip. It's very narrow. There are ditches on both sides, and I'd just like to see some provision in permitting that insists that nobody has to back out onto that street, whether it be horseshoe driveways or some kind of turnaround. The lots are 108 feet wide, so that should be no problem, but it should be mandated that nobody ever has to back out on that street, especially at night. The street lights are few and far between. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Reeves.
Just limit my comments to it. My general observation is that these lots are divided, and they're probably basically twice the size of the required lots for an R3, and so it's a generous lot.
So you're in support of the?
I would be in support of it, but like you say, they might be other issues coming up.
Thank you. Matt Stifel, 507 Citizen Street.
He's gone. He was here.
Okay. I have a name that starts with an L. It might be Lauren. Last name with a B. Okay. Mr. Cliff Rabelais, 702 3rd Street. Yeah. Come on.
Good evening. Cliff Rabelais, 702 3rd Street. And this one is near and dear to home because I'm right next door to it, right across from the cemetery. I can tell you that I do agree with the letters that we need additional details. I'm not going to go into all the things. Anita does a great job of line item by line item by line item. We do need those. And I'm going to ask, because I'm addressing you, I will ask you, but even though there's a gentleman behind me, did I understand that these will be R1 lots?
These are in R3.
This is zoned R3, but the developer.
No, so the question at hand is, it is R3, majority of it. There's a little part that touches industrial in the back.
Right.
So they are currently R3. Now, if the applicant, whoever owns it, would like to change it to something else, they do have the option of changing it to R1, R2, because it abuts that. They could ask for entire, or they can ask for an entire industrial. But currently, as it sits, we're going to call it R3.
So they could ask for
I do
anything
believe
that's
I
more
heard that the
restricted,
person
but nothing
developer,
that's less restricted.
and like I said, I'm addressing y'all, that's why I turn around and ask him personally, but that he stated that these would be single-family homes.
Well, I can let him address that, but I can't. The zoning is.
Please do, because
is
that makes a big difference in where I'm gonna supposedly support or oppose it. 6 single-family homes? I'll be hard-pressed to oppose that. With that size lot? If that is indeed what he's looking at, I think we get these other details, and I'd be hard-pressed to oppose 6 single-family homes there.
But at the end of the day, so everyone understands, this is zoned R3.
Yes.
I cannot hold his feet to the fire that he he does. I believe him.
okay,
I'm
that
sure he's
would-
being honest. But it's not R1, it's R3.
I know.
Mr. Lee,
there
do
we
you want to
go.
address that really quickly, and then I'll let
I'll
Mr.
step
Rabelais.
aside, sir. Yeah, I mean, that's where the other details come in, because what they approve is what they approve.
Okay,
and-
let's stop the side
Like-
talking because it's so difficult to hear if you're listening online.
Yeah, I've been coming to these city council or zoning meetings for 20 years probably. And one time we looked at doing multifamily patio homes. We decided the best and easiest use was 6 single-family houses.
You've got some
I don't want to
opposition.
change the zoning necessarily, because if someone wants to put a nice duplex in there, I have no problem with that. If we wanted to change it to R2, I'm okay with that. But
Okay,
I'm
I
okay, I wanted to keep it the way it is.
Yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yes, but we have planned selling it, price pointing it for residential homes.
What I understand is you're wanting to subdivide it, then you're going to sell the lot.
Sell individual lots to
Ah.
6 different people, hopefully.
Okay.
One guy said he wants 2 though, so I can't. But he wants to build a house on it. I can't promise that no one's gonna come up in 6
So-
years and put a
Okay.
3-plex up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So we do need the additional details of what we're gonna approve, and until we have those, we have to be opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Connie Voigt, 253 Cary Court.
We live on Cary Court, and I'm not so much worried about traffic and not really worried about single-family housing like the other gentleman said, but I am worried about a list of things. One is the zoning, and if we're all expecting single-family and it's zoned R3, well, he can do whatever he wants, or the people who buy the land can do whatever they want. But I'm also really concerned, he said we hope single-family housing, and then that got cleared up. But I'm worried about trees and wetlands, which are also, helpful to the environment and home for, we don't really know what kind of wildlife is living there. Down the street, I know we have nesting egrets, snowy egrets, and other types of herons. So there is an issue with owls nesting. I mean, they're near our house on Cary, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump over there. So I do worry about the wildlife and any wetlands and what might be in the wetlands. And that's my big concern. If there were 6 single-family houses, I don't think, to me, that is not an issue. But there are other things that we don't know that are left open that I do object to, and I know that my neighbors object to as well. So
Thank you.
I think that is all.
Thank you. Is it Margaret Rhodes, 316 Ramonita Street? Yes.
Hi, Margaret Rhodes, 316 Ramonita Street. Most of you know me as Mimi Rhodes, same person. I've lived on Ramonita since 1978, raised our boys there, love the area. I am not opposed to the 6 individual homes, as was stated, but I am opposed to it being allowed to be staying at R3. We don't know what would happen if that zoning does not get changed. Then I would definitely be opposed to this, and I hope that you would be opposed to it. It would ruin our beautiful area with some nice homes. And I guess I can't say anything else, but please do not allow this to go through as an R3. Thank you.
Thank you. Can't read the first initials. Last name starts with an S, 204 Ramonita Street. Shawnig? Lagasse? Okay. Connie, 346 Main. Carrie? I don't know. Last name starts with an R? Okay. I don't even have a guess. 211 St. Charles? Oh, not for this applicant. Y'all aren't here for this. Okay. All right, that's all I have signed up to speak unless anyone in the audience. Yes, sir.
My name's Jack Blitch. I live at 916 South Beach, right south of the church property. I echo Anita's comments because that also directly affects my property. A lot of the drainage problems she's talking about, the church property actually drains through my property and out to the front. My concern with this development and the one that was deferred, that all of these is just going to exacerbate the drainage problem that already exists. And since that big open ditch goes right through my property, I'm very concerned and just want to make sure that as part of the development, the master plan development work that the city's doing, we need to address drainage because that will become a problem. The traffic through the church doesn't necessarily bother me, but it will impact me because my property faces that street. So I don't oppose to the subdivision for all the comments that were already made. I'm just concerned about traffic and drainage that goes right through the back of my property. Thank you.
Thank you. To address the oak trees and Mr. Lee, are you able to have a plot of the oak trees? Do you wanna stand up, and is there anything else you wanna address that anyone said?
Yeah, I wasn't informed of the oak and magnolia tree requirements till yesterday. So I have talked to my surveyor and he's gonna work on it, but
You could
I
have that prior to the
haven't
city
gotten a
council.
time or when it's gonna be done. But I will get it done if y'all require it. And like I say, we hope to sell it all single family. That's our goal. But I can't promise that someone won't come in and put a nice duplex in there either. But I have no intention of selling to someone built. It's been on the market for 4 or 5 years before this, and no one made an offer except one person for a third of the listing price. And that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So we decided the best way is to have single-family housing, and that's what we would like. So.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners while Mr. Lee's up here? I'm personally not opposed. I think these are humongous lots. I think even if people bought them in R3, that they'd probably lean to building really nice residential homes for themselves, especially not being in a flood zone for the majority of it is really nice. If there's no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
And just so I can I know we had 2 of them, but Sketchpad, I think this is the first meeting y'all seen Sketchpad on there, because it was adopted before, but didn't really go into effect till July, October, or June. So upon approving a sketch plat, which it took the place of not as much stuff as a preliminary plat that y'all used to have. Once you have a sketch plat, then it goes to, it's more an administrative one. So drainage issues, so there's a drainage ditch on there. City engineer, public works, they get together and say, whatever you need, above my pay grade, but calculations, make sure whenever this gets subdivided, we have, enough taps on there. It's not gonna adversely affect our infrastructure if there's gonna have to drain, if you're gonna be bringing dirt in to drain, in front of those houses are, 12-inch culverts. Well, we're gonna need you to go in, since you're the one that's going to it, they'd be the ones that say, hey, those actually have to be 18-inch culverts now because you're impeding the system. Like, those are the kind of stuff that goes more administrative. If there's, not necessarily with this one, whenever we get some larger ones, but I'll use Shillsboro on example. There is a lift station in there on the corner of St. Charles, I think, in Old Spanish Trail. It will probably might hit capacity before they finish their build out. Well, likely they would be the ones responsible for upgrading to make sure, their burden on the system is figured out, and they'll be the ones responsible. But those are more internal, because whenever the new subdivision regulations, I'm not an engineer, y'all are not engineers, some of y'all have more knowledge than others, but at the end of the day, Bay St. Louis wants to leave it to the professionals of what needs to be done. Some of the stuff that the street of Ballantyne has an issue with is the size of the road. Well, the subdivision ordinance that y'all adopted, the city council adopted, we realized that was an issue. So that's why now, whenever you have a road, it is 50 foot wide, 20 foot of pavement at least probably, and 15 foot right of ways. Those are the kind of stuff, this is more a unique situation because it's getting cut up along Third Street. The other one currently being cut up along streets. One that was pulled, obviously they had, if y'all looked at it before it was withdrawn, they had a road going in. So some of those requirements, schematically, if it worked for everybody else, the actual nuts and bolts of, is it actually engineer going to work? That is something that there is specs set up by people much, much smarter than me, which is very easy. But, you know, city engineers, like, this is what needs to happen in order for this to work. And, you know, I could venture to say that things that get passed with a sketch plat might never go to final plat, because once the numbers are on, studies are done, it might not work for the developer, or, you know, environmentally, you know, it might not work, that the drainage stuff is too much to overcome, where they're going to lose half their property because of, you know, drainage calculations before and post runoff. So what y'all are proving now is schematically the sketch of it. This nuts and bolts stuff is going to be reviewed, but it won't necessarily be reviewed by y'all. It'll be final plat of everything that was supposed to get done gets done.
Yes, ma'am.
So what the question was, if it's proposed, let's say a single family, which, and this is more of a blanket statement, what public, the board needs to decide, everybody needs to decide, is you do not say what's going to be there, you say what can go there. You know, if you've attended many, historically in the past, a lot of things that have been denied have been smaller lots that are in R2, because though the intent might have been posed as a single family house, a lot of times they have pushbacks, because yes, you can have a duplex there, and those are the kind of stuff. So but what I'd just like to say is, you know, the tax, what we're discussing right now is an R3 piece of property. If zoning ever changes there, obviously that question would be a moot point, but you have to take what's on paper. Yes, like you look at what it's there, but even so much so, whenever something gets subdivided, and this is before it's an individual piece of property, the building department, sometimes it's not advanced, sometimes it's more. If you have a conforming lot that you're putting in a house, a lot of times, and I'm just saying more, the building department will go say, where's the drainage going to be? Most of the time, it's to the front yard, there's a ditch there. But they have cases, and probably some that are in y'all's neighborhood, being because y'all have some that are in velocity zones and special flood hazard areas, that sometimes we do go ask for a, you know, a hydrology study or topo study, go and say, we need to make sure that, you know, you bringing in the fill, you can bring in the fill or whatever else, that there is stuff in place that it's not I mean, I say not publicized. It would not come in front of y'all, but when plans sometimes get submitted, building department says, you know, thanks, but we need to make sure hydrology this work. And I'll just say, in the last few years, it has become more and more prevalent that they're being requested more and more. Yes, ma'am.
This is yes, ma'am.
once again, for the board, just
We're
Ms.
not-
Rhodes, thanks for the comment. Grant, we're talking about the sketch plat now. If y'all
Yeah,
wanna
we have
go
no
in-
control
if I say,
over
if y'all wanna
drainage
just
or
hear about the
zoning, yeah.
general thing of R3, if somebody ever goes and proposes a multifamily, so not a duplex. A duplex is something. Multifamily is 3plex or more. That is actually going to come before y'all as site plan review, because that's one thing that you don't just turn in plans to the building department. That's the ones that you make sure you have. We always make sure you have adequate parking, but adequate parking, if you need a dumpster instead of garbage cans, a whole bunch of other stuff. So it wouldn't, just to clear up the thing, to say this gets broken up, in a few months from now, and an apartment, a 5plex or a 4plex is going to just show up on your road. It wouldn't. Like, if you got notice for, do we public notice site plans, or we would post it? There would be notice that it would actually be coming, because a developer would have to have a site plan approval from the city council and from planning and zoning and from the city council for a multifamily.
Okay, if there's no other. Yeah, can you come to the podium and state your name? Because poor Caitlin is going to have a time figuring
Holly.
out who was talking
okay.
and what was being said.
Holly Purvis, 235 St. Charles. My question is, to mitigate all of this opposition, would they be willing just to change the zoning? Because wouldn't that?
Yes, it's a different application. It's not what's being addressed
Right,
tonight.
but
and
I'm
I don't
asking,
know what the
would they
zoning
be
is around it.
willing?
We can't spot zone things to, is it surrounded by R1 probably?
This property to, I don't know directions, I know places. So the Ramonita side is R1, to the St. Charles side, it abuts an R2, and then obviously industrial. So it could actually be changed to R1, R2, or
Yeah.
industrial.
I mean, but as it sits right now, if it stayed one single parcel, somebody could still come in and do something, but to a more extensive level, like a full apartment complex. So you may be safer giving people more restrictions on the lot width, to where they don't come in and put something. It would be larger than Manor House. It'd probably be 3 times the size of the, just point of clarification.
Yeah, that's
there.
point of
It could
clarification.
still happen right now today as it sits if he were to sell that lot
By right.
by right.
Yeah, you're required to have 7,500
So-
square foot for the first unit, 9,500 for the second, or 2,000 for each additional.
And-
So 7,500.
He's got tons of acreage here. So.
It's over 3, isn't it?
Well, there's,
We're not here to do the zoning change.
okay. Yeah. Real quick, Mr. Rabelais, and then we're gonna do a motion.
I'd like to make
We're
one
hung.
comment, and then
Got
y'all do
supper
need to
ready.
go ahead and decide what y'all gonna do. My concern is, we got 6 lots. How long before you see they're gonna subdivide one of those lots?
Not while I'm here, but I can't,
So,
unless I'm not here. Yeah, they'd have to get
and how
permission.
many
to do it.
variances for subdividing lots have we approved in the last 5 years? Don't tell me we can't do it.
But that stands for any lot as it
Yes, it
exists.
is.
I could do it with my, I could ask for my lot right
Yeah,
now.
I've got 2 acres where I live, and it's 3 parcels, but no.
You wanna sell
I
it?
think this is something that, we, as you're seeing, and it's a sentiment throughout Bay St. Louis, the higher density is not something that's desirable. And so, if this becomes R1, I think it'll get probably some support. But as R3, I just don't see you getting much public support for it. Particularly since this is a preliminary plat, we approve this and it's administratively approved thereafter. That's not very good idea.
Thank you.
Y'all go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
No, I need to
Yes,
ask a
go
question
ahead, Mr.
first.
Weber.
And it's probably more on the legal side than, but there's nothing to prohibit this person from surveying lot 6 and selling it to somebody. He can do that. and it'd still be R3. And then that person goes before Jeremy and says, I want a permit. He can get a permit because it's a conforming lot. So I don't understand the controversy that we're going through for these lots. He can sell them individually. You don't have to come through this, and they're conforming. You don't have to do that. So we're kind of beating our heads up against a tree for not accomplishing anything. Nothing will prevent him from selling a conforming lot.
All right, if there's nothing else, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny the applicant.
Motion to deny by Mr. Osborne.
I'll second.
This is to deny the application.
To deny.
So just to be clear, yes, if you vote yes, it is to deny the application. So let's take a vote. So nay.
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 Is nay for or against?
It's for.
So it's 4.
Well, not really. A nay is not for. A nay
I
is.
always reiterate.
A nay is to approve it.
A nay is to deny the motion, which the motion was to deny the application.
It's a double negative.
That's above my pay grade. I'll deny.
Deny the motion. So the motion fails.
No, it's tied.
No, it's 4 to 2.
Yeah, 4 to 2.
All the nays, 4 to 2. I know what's going on, but I'm trying to make sure everybody knows what's going on before they vote. So we'll have to. But that's not the motion that was made. The motion was made to deny, so we have to vote based on the motion. That's it. So the motion was made to deny. So who doesn't want it is Mr. Weber and Mr. Osborne, because they voted to deny the application. We voted nay to that motion. So so the motion is denied. Do we need to make a new motion? I'll make a new motion to approve the application. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 4-2, so the application is passed. Please be present for the next city council meeting Tuesday, August 8th at 5:30 p.m.
He can sell it one lot at a time.
Okay, we got another.
Recorded?
Okay, can everybody clear the room? We still got another agenda item. City of Bay St. Louis. City of Bay St. Louis, application for text amendment to the zoning ordinance submitted by the City of Bay St. Louis. The city shall amend IPMC 2018 International Party Maintenance Code, Section 307.7.1 for the following wire fences other than chain link and 4-gauge galvanized utility panels, including hardware cloth, chicken wire, poultry netting, agriculture wire, or the like, are not permitted. The 4-gauge galvanized utility panel fence shall be framed. Okay, we're gonna have Jeremy explain it a little bit better. We'll make it. We've been in worse conditions than this.
Introduce yourself to your new friend.
What? Okay.
There's still a doors closed. Time to pick up. All right, guys. This is, and it's just more procedural wise, probably gonna end up city council decision, but y'all approved or recommended for approval the international IMC International Property Maintenance Code. It went along to the city council several months ago for approval. Well, over the last several months, one of the sections in there says the only wire fencing that's allowed is chain link fence. We've had numerous requests to allow metal fencing, not metal fencing, wire fencing like this. So what the motion would be was allow chain link fence and 4-gauge galvanized utility paneling. So that would be what's on there is 6-gauge. It would be thicker gauge, but the other stipulation that we would require is that it would also have to be framed. So just the post, it would also have to have a runner on the top and the bottom of it of wood or something like that so you could dress it up some. The rationale was, you know, it'd be more expensive. There's a higher entry point to go do this. They've had a number of requests for this, and every single time the building department say no, won't allow it, because it violates the property maintenance code. So what's just being proposed today is to recommend amending the ordinance to city council to see if they would go consider having this kind of fencing be allowed in Bay St. Louis, but it's going to be framed off that. And I think I have one person here that, let me just go, I've been swamped since then, and I'm trying to find an example of it. I meant to go to Miss
Your yard, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Miss
I know, like
Nikki Moons lives on the corner of Perry and Central. It is probably the best example, though. I think maybe you might not even have 4-gauge wire. This would be thicker wire too. That would be.
So, but any existing non-conforming wire fence will be allowed to stay.
But you couldn't build it right now.
No, you can't build it right now.
So I have a question. I live next to a bunch of Texas Longhorns. We can't have barbed wire?
Not in well.
No,
We better
this
address
is a
that if
serious
that's the
question.
case.
No, it's addressed. I don't remember.
Have you been to Ward 5?
It might not. I mean, it might be pre-existing. It falls down, but I don't know if you're allowed to have barbed wire in residential. That's the only thing. So when it's gone, it might be gone forever.
And then anybody who's trying to do this around a pool, obviously they're on their own liability with their insurance company, and
Yeah.
because kids love to put. I did it one time and I'll never do it again. Kids love to put their feet. It is the perfect climbing mechanism.
So this.
Not your boys, huh?
So
Not my kids. It's 3 kids.
you're not gonna allow.
So this is going to
wrought
be
iron?
passed out of this Sticky Moons on the corner. Some of the other examples that people wanted was they still have large parcels of land in Bay St. Louis where people want to put picket fence in.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see the back, so this is what they wanted to put. They did not want to put chain link. This would be.
But metal's allowed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about wrought iron?
We're just
We're
not
not even
addressing that
addressing
here. This
wrought
is
iron.
just
Or aluminum.
yeah. We're just addressing wire.
Okay.
You can keep your chickens in.
Yeah, they have a few cow pastures on Old Nicholson by me.
Did Miss
And
Connie still want to talk?
Coca-Cola's got it.
Yeah.
On the corner. And we started out wanting the fence for 2 really strong reasons. One was safety. If you've ever tried to pull out from St. Charles or pull out from Cary, the visibility is really bad on Central. And if we put a picket fence or some other kind of wooden fence up there, then the vision is going to be restricted when you're trying to get off of Cary Court and onto Central. That's a major concern. And the second concern was safety. I mean, we want a fence. We set back our house further than we wanted to because of the oaks that were in the front yard. So if we have a fence, then our dumb dogs can have more room to run around. And the longevity of the fence, I should switch and say that it really was a beautification. When you turn into Cary Court, our properties would match, the fencing would match on it, and it would just be very welcoming and look really nice if they both matched. The other thing is the longevity of a fence. Unlike a chain link fence or whatever, that galvanized metal on the wood, because it would be wood, it would have a capper on the top. You can see some of the pictures. I don't have one with the capper on the top, but our fence guy wants to put a capper on the top. And the longevity of that is way longer than a chain link or a wood fence that you have to maintain or paint or stain again. So there were a lot of reasons. The visibility is probably number one. And it would go around all our fence. I don't know if anybody looks at next door, but we had thousands of dollars of damage done to our vehicle in our driveway on Sunday night. Mischievous mischief. And so if we have a fence, that could act as a deterrent as well across our driveway. And Tom could clean out the garage. So,
Thank you.
if you have any questions, I know you've heard me a lot and you don't want to hear me, but come see the history play. You can hear me more. But the pictures are of the corner where the stop sign is. If you turn the page there, there's a picture that just happened. A car was good. And you can see how far out the car is pulled past that stop sign to be able to see. That's of grave concern because we have never witnessed an accident at Cary in Central, but we have witnessed 4 or 5 since we've lived there, and we've lived there for less than 2.5 years. So that's of grave concern, accidents. And that's just a picture of our house. And then across the street, you can see Nikki's property and how nice it looks. You barely even see it for the landscaping and stuff that's there.
What is your address?
253. We're just right across from
On Cary.
Nikki and next to the ghost house.
Well, I don't have any questions. If anybody else, I like the idea of having.
And then and I guess it might be for the council here, whenever somebody comes and gets a building permit, just in general, we always go ask them because you never know what you're going to get. Not just get a building permit, like what you're going to make it up. So it's not going to be chicken wire. We're going to make sure it is 4-gauge panel, not 6-gauge, not 8-gauge, not chicken wire, no other variation. It is going to be 4-gauge. And once again, I think there was sentiment around some residents, not just you. There was been probably a half dozen in the last 3 or 4 months that wanted to do this. It's always been no. So, I think this would be a solution that cures, if the city council approves, cures the want of some, but not deter from the value of homes.
And there's also a picture on the second page where there's like utility stuff, but that's a house on Palm Park at the end of the cul-de-sac there. And he's got a lot of beautiful property, and he's in the process of putting that up as well, the same kind of fencing that we're talking about. Yeah, but we have a ranch house.
You added the mesh to the bottom.
That's lower
Dogs
Park.
probably.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move
unless
it.
there's more. Moved by Mr. Agee. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. Next agenda item is.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Minutes?
The motion to approve the minutes of June 27th, 2023. Is there a motion? I motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain, I wasn't there.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Final agenda item is a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion by Mr. LeBlanc. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Osborne beat you to it. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion adjourned.
Aye, aye, aye.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to.
Yeah.